Today's yoga story is Little Red Riding Hood, which is a story that I'm sure you all know. And the story starts with Little Red Riding Hood living in her house with her mum. You remember our house pose? Legs apart, stretching her arms right up high. Now, Little Red Riding Hood's house was right next to a big, dark forest full of trees. Let's move to our tree pose now. Feet together, hands at our heart. Now carefully lifting one foot off the floor. See if you can grow your tree up tall, like all the trees in the deep, dark forest. Now one day, Little Red Riding Hood's mother asked her to take a bag of food to Grandma's house. So into the bag she put some cupcakes, and she put some jam sandwiches, and she put a big bottle of fizzy pop. And then Little Red Riding Hood set off through the deep dark forest to Grandma's house. Off we go, walking through the forest. Big footsteps, walking through the forest. As she walked through the forest, Little Red Riding Hood looked around. The sun was shining. Let's say hello to the sun. Stretch up high. Hello, sun. And she noticed there were birds flying in the trees. Okay, you cross one arm over the other, like this, and then cross one leg over the other to make our eagle pose. Well done. Really tricky, balancing on one leg there. And then see if you can spread your right wings right out and fly like a bird. Little Red Riding Hood walked further into the forest and she saw her friend the woodcutter. Can you remember our woodcutter pose from last week? Hands behind your back. Ready? We're going to chop some wood. Chop. 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 But what Little Red Riding Hood didn't notice was the big, bad wolf who was lurking in the trees. Okay. Then down, hands on the floor, bottom in the air, making our wolf pose. Can you howl like a wolf? Ooh! Well done. Suddenly, the wolf jumped out in front of Little Red Riding Hood. "Hello, little girl," he growled. "And where might you be going today?" "Oh, well, I'm just off to Grandma's house," said Little Red Riding Hood. "Oh," said the wolf, "that sounds interesting." And off he ran. And you run fast like a wolf. When the wolf reached Grandma's house, he rushed straight inside the house. And there he saw Grandma, and he ate her all up. And then he got into bed, and he pulled the covers all the way up. When Little Red Riding Hood arrived, she walked into the cottage and said, "Hello, Grandma." Then she stopped and looked. "Oh, Grandma," she said, "what big eyes you have. You make big eyes like Grandma." "All the better to see you with," said the wolf. Then Little Red Riding Hood stopped and looked again. "Oh, Grandma," she said, "what big ears you have. All the better to hear you with," said the wolf. Little Red Riding Hood looked again. "Oh, Grandma, what big hands you have," she said. "All the better to cuddle you with," said the big teeth you have. All the better to eat you with, cried the wolf, and he gobbled Little Red Riding Hood up in one big gulp. Well, the woodcutter was passing by outside. You remember our woodcutter pose? Chop! 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 And he heard the screams for help, and he rushed into the house and saw the wolf. With one almighty chop, chop! He cut the wolf's tummy open, and out jumped Little Red Riding Hood. And out jumped Grandma, safe and sound. And they all had a big hug and lived happily ever after.